Back to that first big hunt with Gene Younger. The man on horseback had just given me matches and plenty of instruction, and now I'm walking down the trail and don't get very far, and have found an aspen grove, and now I'm looking around for the place to build a fire and not set the forest on fire, because it's still dry. It's been threatening, and it isn't even sprinkled, but it's still way too dry to be careless with a fire. Oh man, there's where a twin aspen, big ones. I'm telling you, I could have reached around, but not much more than reached around either one of those two twin aspens that had fallen over. Big, long suckers that probably laid down out there for 60 to 70 feet. Old and dead. Big well where the roots had popped up. So what I did was I raked all the leaves in that were around there, and then I went out around and I must have brought in 200 or more, because I worked till it was dark 30. I had a stack. The base of it was probably 8 or 10 feet wide, and the stack was at least as high as my head, of aspen that were all the way from about that size, diameter of 4, 4.5, 5 inches, and then out, be 20, 30 feet long, and be out to where the end is the size of your little finger. And of course a lot of them were smaller aspen, but I mean, I had a stack of dry wood. Whew. Boy, I went down and I drank heavy. Came back, got some of those dry leaves in a little stack, the way you're supposed to. Got some of those little ends off of the aspens that were just little twiggies, and made my little tent. Struck a match. I started the fire with one of those gophers. Felt good about that after being so stupid and so greenhornish. Boy, it wasn't long until I had one roaring fire. You'd lay those on, and my guy said burn through, and aspen can pop and crack when it's burning. And flame shooting up, 5 or 6 feet in the air. And as they burned too, well, then I'd slip both ends back in and pretty much burn up the amount that I'd put in. Certainly didn't let it die down much. And then I'd put on another whole bunch. And I was kind of watching it. How long can I maybe sleep in between? Well, quite a while. I also found out that you could get a lot of little holes burnt in your clothes by getting too close. No more clothes, and I had some wonder I didn't get burnt. No burns. So, things are looking up. Well, I didn't have a wristwatch, but I had a pocket watch with me. So I was getting the pocket watch out and kind of timing things. And I don't know, it was getting along towards 8 or 9 o'clock, and when it gets dark at 5-ish, that was a long time. I think I've got this thing wired that I can... Oh, and I dug a hole the length of my body, particularly in my trunk part of my body, and thought that'd help me resist the cold. Well, I lay down and go to sleep. Pretty soon I wake up and the fire's dying down. I build it up again, and I lay down, and I don't know if I ever slept sound, but I get a little bit more sleep. And then I am awakened. There's something very cold striking my face. Oh my God, it's starting to rain. Uh-oh. Keep the fire hot. Well, then it almost immediately, I don't think I'd been awake 20 minutes, more like 5 or 10. No more rain, snow. Boy, it started snowing like crazy. Well, I kept feeding the fire, and I'm staying awake. And then it hit me. Now, wait a minute. You can't set the forest on fire now, because, you look out there and it's starting to have a fairly decent little cover of snow on it. Oh. boy, I started extending that fire over and put it underneath that twin aspen. That aspen was, I don't know how old, but I mean it had to be dry, because it wasn't long till I had the dadgumdest fire that I'd ever have anything to do with. It didn't cause anybody any harm. By putting those 10 to 15 to 20 foot aspens out there, they'd all get on fire, and that twin aspen would get on fire. Well, then I look around. I don't have to, not only don't have to, I can't be that close. That fire's too doggone hot. Well, over there's an evergreen tree in a pretty nice shape. And boy, there was enough life in that fire. I went over and looked. Hey, there's been animals bed down under here. Cleaned her out a little bit. Got underneath that thing, and I could sleep, I believe, sometimes as long as an hour before I'd get up and move some more to move it over. By dawn plus, I didn't wake up right at dawn. By dawn plus, when I woke up the next morning, that 50 or 60 foot tree was basically consumed. There were a few limbs that I piled some snow on to control the fire. Picked up my gun and started walking out. When you haven't eaten for since noon yesterday and you didn't eat heavy then, walking is awful hard work. And that gun of Mr. Nissens felt like it weighed a ton. I'd walk and rest, and more of the story later.